Taylor Swift and Max Martin alongside Shellback are teaming up once again for The Life of a Showgirl. It's the first time that they've worked together since 2017's Reputation. So today, I'm going to go through and rank the best Taylor Swift and Max Martin collaborations. The top 10, there's been so many good ones. We've had what they've done on 1989, Reputation, and of course where it all started, Back with Red. That is today's Pop Pod. I am Sam, also known as Pop Sam Cam, and let's kick off the Taylor Swift Life of a Showgirl week. So we have been waiting for this week ever since, of course, Taylor Swift announced this album and told everybody that she's gone back to working with Max Martin and Shellback. She recorded this album in Sweden in between the Eras tour. When she had time off, she would fly there to work with him. And I think that it's pretty fair to say that this is going to be one of her most pop-focused records since we got Reputation. I think that these two have a great track record together. And of course, Shellback is involved in so much of that as well. So today I wanted to use this ranking system as a way of talking about the work that they've done together and kind of anticipate what we're going to get from this album that is dropping on Friday. I will, of course, react to it, and then I will be joined by Jono on the Pop Pod Bop or Flop to, I'm guessing, mostly talk about The Life of a Showgirl, because it seems like everybody else cleared the runway for her to release by dropping last week. First up, if you like this podcast, I would love if you would follow or subscribe to it, and of course rate it 5 stars if you really like it. You can also come and talk to me in my DMs if you have any thoughts on this, which I'm sure you will, or you can email voice notes, anything like that that I can play out on the pod to the email that is below. But for now, let's get into the rank of Taylor Swift and Max Martin songs. Let's start with number 10, and this one is one that I think is almost a perfect song and just falls short, and that is Ready For It, the opener off Reputation. I remember when this came out, it felt like the mission statement of Reputation. It is crunchy and tough and industrial in the verses, and then it just gets sugary sweet and really flies when it gets to that pre-chorus. I think the pre-chorus of this is some of the best work that they've ever done together. It is just so syrupy and melodic that it's impossible to deny. But of course, it's kind of bookended by a much crunchier tale in that the verses have this really, really tough sound to it. And I actually quite like that. And then the chorus really has this, like, I guess you could call it chorus or post-chorus, however you want to structure this song. But it is, again, really crunchy in it, and it's quite set in a 2016, 2017 kind of sound. Remember when we were all expecting drops after the chorus? It was a very Major Lazer kind of way of producing, and I think that that has somewhat aged itself. But what doesn't age is the chorus of this, or the pre-chorus of this. I saw it at the Eras tour, and I thought it was a phenomenal moment during that, and I just think that it gives you tingles. Like, there's a certain euphoria to this song that we are going to actually talk about with so many of Taylor and Max's collaborations throughout time. But I couldn't put this one any further because I just think it is perhaps the most dated of the songs that they've worked on together. However, I cannot deny the songwriting for this one. Very, very clever and very good. Let's go into number 9, which is actually a collaboration that I didn't know was them, because had you asked me who I would bet it was, I would have said it was Jack and Taylor, but it's not. King of My Heart, off Reputation as well, is a Max Martin and Taylor Swift collaboration. What I really love about this song is the way that they use the vocal layering and vocal manipulation in the chorus. And I feel like it captures the sound of Reputation so well. Reputation, to me, has a real darkness to it, but then it's also about finding the romance through that. And I think that she obviously finds such a glimmer of light at some point in that record. And this song does such a good job of pairing both of those things together. And I think it all comes together very nicely in that chorus, which is very robotic, but also very human. There's also just like there's a real momentous feeling to this song in the way that the drums kind of pound during the bridge. It's some of the more anthemic work on the record. And this is a song that actually I loved straight away, because going into Reputation, admittedly, I wasn't expecting much. I didn't love Look What You Made Me Do straight off the bat. And I also didn't really love a lot of the pre-release singles, although I did love Call It What You Want. But this song, when I heard the record, I was like, oh, this is feeling like classic Taylor Swift. It's like kind of picks up from Getaway Car, which is obviously one of the real shining moments from that album, but also does something incredibly special. I just really, really like this song, and I return to it quite often, actually. And it's shocking to me that it's Max Martin, because it feels like it's got so many of the tropes of Jack and Taylor working together, particularly in the vocal manipulation, the vocoder kind of sound, I think is something that they rely on quite a bit, but it just really, really works here and is really one of the best moments of Reputation. Let's move on to number 8, which is one off 1989, which is All You Had to Do Was Stay. Obviously, this album is packed with perfect pop moments. I think like almost more so than any pop record we've had over the past 2 decades. It is just so hit heavy, but I like this one because it doesn't feel as grand as some of the other moments. It's not as like venomous as Blank Space. It's not as thunderous as Bad Blood. And it's also not as like whimsical as Wildest Dreams. And then it's not as poppy as Shake It Off. But it exists at this perfect point in the record where you really kind of need a palate cleanser. And this one just does it so well. I mean, the verses of this are so 1989. It's so that sounds that it feels really 80s leaning, but there's a spaciousness to it. There's a real emphasis on what Taylor Swift is singing, and it's almost like the production clears the way for you to really hear the lyrics. Then it's got that really sugary chorus where they're like, excuse me singing it, but the stay is like a major moment of this song and just done so well. And you just know that her and Max Martin had a eureka moment when they landed on that in the studio. I think that it's also like quite a really good breakup song, and I feel like 1989 does that so well at so many different moments, but manages to make a breakup feel like an epiphany, if that makes sense to you. Like there's a colorful nature to these songs, and it is all testament to the work that Taylor and Max do on this record so successfully. All You Had to Do Was Stay, always to me a really underrated Taylor Swift moment, and remains so. I actually am hoping to hear more of this sound on the Life of a Showgirl, because I think that it has become such a hallmark of the Taylor Swift sound to have these really percussive verses and these really like epiphanous, is that even a word? It should be if it's not, epiphanous choruses. And it's something that her and Jack have really mined deeper into, but I think the seed is really laid with her work with Max Martin. So I would love to see how that has developed to now on Life of a Showgirl. Let's get into number 7. This one of her biggest singles, or was certainly one of her biggest singles. She has so many of them now. Wildest Dreams. I think that you cannot deny that this really takes great influence from Lana Del Rey. But one thing Lana Del Rey's never done is worked with Max Martin on any of her albums. And I think that this shows what happens when you take that Lana Del Rey sound, you take some polish and a good cloth, and you just like shine it up and you make it this thing. I'm not saying that as a diss to Lana, because I think one of the best things about her is she hasn't done that. But one of the best things about Taylor is that she has done that, and she can make such a glistening pop song. I think that it made sense to me that this song got kind of the most cinematic music video of the set on 1989, because it feels so cinematic. It is just like such a perfect song in that every single element feels labored over and none of it sounds labored over, if that makes sense. Like this song just tracks along so nicely and then just glides into that chorus. That chorus feels nostalgic. It feels heartbreaking in a certain way. It just feels exactly how a pop song should feel. And I think that a pop song should conjure so many different emotions and memories. And this song sounds like so many different things, but you can't quite pinpoint exactly what it feels like. And it's also one of the outliers, I think, of her work with Max, because it doesn't really sound like a lot of the other songs that they have together, but it is just so successful in what it is doing. And also remember, this comes as what, single number 5 maybe from the record, maybe number 4, and the quality hadn't dipped at all, really. Like, it's incredible what they were able to do with this album in terms of just packing it with so many singles, but doing so many different things. This is, I guess, the ballad single of the bunch, and yet it still has such an exuberant flavor to it. Really, really love Wildest Dreams. Let's get into number 6, which I feel like some of you are going to disagree with, but I personally feel like this is one of the best things that they've done together, and that is I Knew You Were Trouble off Red. If you look at the collaborations that these two have done together, they are often very good at seeing what the trend of pop music is, or seeing what trends going on in other parts of music are, and picking up on that and taking it into a Taylor Swift world. And I think had you told anybody back when Red was released or was about to be released that Taylor Swift was going to do dubstep, it would have come with a bit of an eye roll. Obviously, it became such a huge production note for pop music from this point onwards, and was probably already happening a little bit before this record. But I think that they do it so tastefully on this, and it feels energetic and it feels tough in a way that this song needs to be. This song is about like falling for a bad boy, I guess, and it captures the excitement and the rush so well. The way that it feels like the verses just speed up and up and up and up and up until you get to that absolute crash landing when the dubstep production comes in. It doesn't feel gimmicky to me at all, and I think that's just because Max Martin, it's impossible for him to make anything that feels gimmicky, because he makes sounds sound trademark and sound like they're exactly where they need to be. And I also think that it's the perfect pairing of his production with her songwriting, because her songwriting on this is very narrative driven. It's very vivid. I could hear this song as a ballad. In fact, I think I have heard her do it acoustically as a ballad, but it just makes so much sense when it rises to become this momentous pop occasion. And I think that We Are Never Getting Back Together, to me, was always a little bit too much on the nose. Like, Taylor loves to go into that kind of ad-libby speak singing kind of mode that has never really worked for me that much. And when I heard that song, I was like, oh man, like this pop thing is going to be a real blip in Taylor Swift's career, and she's going to go back to country because this is not working. And then as soon as I heard this song, I was like, oh no, this works. She's perfect in the pop lane, and this song in particular completely proved that for me. And still, even on the Eras tour, I thought that this was such a good moment. It really stands up to me as one of the best Taylor Swift singles, and I know that people will argue against that because I don't know if the dubstep thing has aged incredibly well, but I think the song, the crux of this song and the bare bones of the songwriting has really aged quite well. So this is in number 6 for me. Getting into the top 5, I need to say before we get into the top 5 that at the end of this, you will hear an interview between me and an artist called Ali Salor. The reason that I chose to put this interview at the end of this episode is because she's a young artist who is a very good singer-songwriter, who I think takes a lot of influence from Taylor Swift's diaristic way of songwriting. So I thought, why not introduce you to a new artist before you have 12 new Taylor Swift songs at the end of the week to steal your attention? Let's get into the top 5. In number 5, this is a bit of a curveball, actually. I've Dancing with Our Hands Tied off Reputation. This is one that I just loved straight away. And for similar reasons, actually, that I talked about with I Knew You Were Trouble, in that this recognizes some of the trends that were going on production-wise in EDM and takes it into this melancholic kind of Reputation world that Taylor Swift was building. And I think, too, like, this song, as well as what I talked about before with King of My Heart, does a really good job at finding the romance in the darkness. And I think one of the lyrics is, I loved you in secret, or I loved you in spite of, deep fears that the world would divide us. And I think that is just Reputation in a nutshell. And this song does such a good job because it almost feels dangerous in a way, in the way that the chorus does come crushing down. There's a real thud to it that happens, but there's also such a sweetness to the melody. And I'm going to use like sweetness, honey, syrup so much when talking about Taylor Swift and Max Martin working together because they do such a good job of it. But this one really shouldn't feel as melodic as it does because the chorus almost feels like a car crash in the way that it just pounds through. But throughout that, Taylor Swift has this really defiant vocal that goes up against it and kind of wins out in the end because the melody is the star of this. For me, I think that it is so good and it just hit me in the gut as soon as I heard it. She just does such a good job with this song at making a pop song out of something that doesn't feel like it should work at all. It's also a song that feels like it should have aged, and to me it just doesn't feel like that. I think because the theme and the flavor and the sound of Reputation is so strong, and this song really like is one of the hallmarks of it for me. It does remind me of this time in Taylor Swift's career, but it's also a song that I go back to so often. And I would actually love to hear, I don't think we're going to get it, but I would love to hear Max and Taylor doing stuff that's as tough as this on The Life of a Showgirl again. I'd like to know, like, if you can comment, if you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on Spotify, comment and let me know where the other fans of Dancing with Our Hands Tied are, because what a song that's underappreciated so often. We're getting down to the nitty gritty now. In number 4 is New Romantics. This is perhaps the most buoyant, bounding song on 1989, bar maybe Shake It Off. I feel like the rest of 1989, even though it is this real big blockbuster pop record, it kind of shies away from just going full foot on the accelerator and going fully into pop land. But New Romantics does not do that. Like, it doesn't shy away from it at all. It just goes full throttle. And that's perhaps why it lands on the deluxe edition of the album and not actually on the standard edition, even though it was eventually made a single. It really captures that 80s sound. I'm thinking like Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody, Cyndi Lauper, even Girls Just Want to Have Fun. I know that the sounds aren't specifically, like they don't go into that 80s pastiche as much as those songs do, but they really borrow from that kind of melody of it where the entire song is just worn on your chest. And what I mean by that is it's almost on the nose how pop, I've never used this word before and I never will again, but this song is pop-tastic. It's just like, I don't know, it's just so colorful. It feels like letting off a party cracker or something like that. It's just such a bold pop song and such a bold moment, and almost in the lineup of 1989 feels like the credits closing. Like it is that feel good moment. It feels youthful, it feels exuberant, and I think when I'm thinking of The Life of a Showgirl, I'm thinking that it is going to be very colorful. It's going to capture the kind of scale of what the Eras Tour was, and I don't think any song captures scale quite as well as New Romantics does. Like this song is just a smash to me in every single way, and I actually think had she replaced maybe Bad Blood with this as a single, it would have been a number 1 record all around the world. It's just the fact that this was the curtains close moment on 1989 that it didn't do better. But man, it's such a successful song, this one. Into the top 3, I am interested in your top 3, so make sure you drop them. But these are my top 3 Max Martin and Taylor Swift collaborations, starting with number 3, which is Delicate off Reputation. This, I think there was a moment where it felt like the wheels were kind of coming off the Reputation era. This is the closest she's ever been to being a flop, I guess. Look What You Made Me Do did well, but it wasn't hanging around on the charts as long as the singles from 1989. Ready for It shot up and down. It just felt like she couldn't really grab onto a single that had longevity. But when I listened to the album, Delicate really shone through for me, because as I've said time and time again, This is a record about finding love when the chips are down, when Taylor Swift felt like nobody else wanted to know anything about her or everyone was hating on her. She found this one person who she knew didn't feel that way, and Delicate captures that moment so perfectly. Like, This Ain't For The Best, My Reputation's Never Been Worse is the album in a nutshell. Like, that is what should have been written on the CD cover, really, because that is the whole point of Reputation, and Delicate captures it so delicately. This song feels fragile at points, but at the same time, there is this euphoria that just keeps coming to the surface in Delicate. And she does it again, like I talked about on King of My Heart. The vocoder, the vocal layering is present once again here, which is a real like kind of Max and Taylor trope for this record. And it just does it so well. The beat is something that we hadn't been used to hearing Taylor Swift over, but she handles it with such care. She winds her way through the verses so well. And then the chorus just, we apart from maybe Wildest Dreams, even that I guess has this kind of like cinematic like gravity to it. But this song goes into the chorus without any fanfare, which I think is really interesting for a Taylor Swift single, but it makes so much sense in the theme of the lyrics of this song. And I think it's also the reason why this song was such a slow burn. I think that it ended up spending like almost a year on the charts, even though it never got into the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100. It just simmered the whole time. And simmer is a great word for this song in general. I love that its trajectory as a mainstream single is the same as the trajectory of the sonics of this song, like quite interestingly. I just think it's an excellent pop song, and so beautifully maneuvered in a way that is not on the nose or forthright in a way that Taylor Swift pop songs can sometimes be. But let's get into number 2. This was getting so hard for me at this point, but it's hard to deny. This is really hard. I actually just looked at the 2 and I still haven't decided which order. So this is just going to be coming straight out. But number 2, Blank Space. The thing that I love lyrically about Blank Space is that it takes this narrative that had been created around Taylor Swift by the media about her just going through boyfriends like she was basically going through a waiting room in a doctor's office. And it takes it and she's like, okay, let me play the character and let me actually give you that in a pop song. This song is bouncy. It's like tongue-in-cheek. It's venomous. It's like really... I can't even find the word to describe it because it's just so good what she does here in terms of creating this character that just buys into all of the stories that have been told about Taylor, but she does it better than any of them could tell. And I think that the hook of like, I've got a blank space, baby, and I'll write your name is just how good Taylor Swift and Max Martin's collaborations could get. In the succinctness of that line is just absolute genius. Like, that is a pop hook delivered in the perfect moment, in the perfect tone, with the perfect beat underneath it. I just think that it is so good. But I also think that this song does something in that it sets a blueprint for what Taylor Swift pop songs can sound like, but it sets a blueprint for what pop moving forward can be, in that I think at this point around 1989, we're about to see the influence of Lorde come through, the influence of Lana Del Rey, and artists who are making pop a little bit more bare boned and a little bit more skeletal. And I think that that's true of what Blank Space does, in that it is quite pared back with the beat. There is not much going on, particularly in the verse, and that voice is right up front and present. And I think that Max Martin and Taylor Swift do an incredible job of taking the influence of minimal pop and just shining it up a little bit more, like I talked about with Wildest Dreams, shining it up a little bit more and making it glisten. Like, this is not a song that's dark in the way that the Lorde songs were. This is a song that uses minimal pop so that her charisma and her personality can shine through in the way that she pronounces words, in the way that she speaks lyrics. Like, I just think that it comes to be one of the trademark sounds of Taylor Swift, and by way of her influence moving forward, the trademark sound of so many pop artists who come after that. And still, I get so many songs sent to me that are new songs that I'm like, that's a blank space influence. That's blank space influence. I just think that it's everywhere in pop music, even now today, and just a genius moment from the two of them. But not as genius a moment as my number one, which you might have guessed is Style. I talk a lot about pop songs that feel like they don't put a foot wrong, like they were manufactured in a lab to absolute perfection. And Style feels like that. It takes its influence from 80s synth pop, and that's something we've seen Max Martin do on so many occasions moving forward with artists like Ariana Grande and The Weeknd, but it all starts here at Style, the third single from 1989, the most successful single in my opinion, and a single that goes on to inform so many of Taylor Swift's other songs. It is just, the word that comes to mind when I think of Style is slick. Like, you cannot, I think so often with a pop song, you can almost hear the thought and the gumption that goes into it. And you cannot hear that with Style. It is absolutely effortless. Like, it feels like it took them 2 seconds to make. And yet you know that this was like made up in Max Martin's lab with equations and music theory and everything going into it to make it sound like they actually did nothing in the creation of this song. That guitar line is so nice. The way that Taylor Swift sings in this way that is not like, up until this point in her career, she had sung every word with such intention and such pronunciation, and particularly the end of every single line that she sings has this real gravity to it, but Style does not have that. Style has a weightlessness to it. And I think that I would imagine that so many artists going into the studio take Style as a blueprint for the kind of song they want to make, in the same way that artists take Dancing on My Own or they take Into You by Ariana Grande, because these are songs that manage to capture this melancholy and euphoria fused together in the perfect combination to make something that just makes the heart swell when you listen to it, basically. It is genius. And if they can get a song that's half as good as Style on The Life of a Showgirl, then they have done incredibly well, because this song is a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. What's been so cool about doing this exercise is that I've noticed how many different things that Taylor and Max can do together and how successful they can be at so many different sounds. I think that 1989 sounds so distinctly different to Reputation, which sounds so distinctly different to the cheerleader kind of girly pop that We Are Never Getting Back Together is. There's so much that they can do. And so I can't even predict the sound that they're going to go with on this album, but we are obviously going to hear it on Friday and we're going to talk about it. Let me know what you think of my ranking in the comments. But I want to leave you now with this interview with Ali Salor, who is a new artist that you really need to be around. She's young. She has made quite a following for herself on TikTok by doing covers, but I think has also made a really successful pivot to her own music. If you like diaristic, autobiographical songs that are just kind of uncrowded by anything and are all about the songwriting and the voice, you're going to love her. Here's my interview. Thank you so much for joining me on the Pop Pod. I will see you next time.
We're problematic, we're so messy, but we clean up nice. You're immature and I'm neurotic, yeah, we walk the line. Not always easy, but we come together every time. You and I are messy.
I have a very exciting guest, Ali Solart, with me.
Hello.
She has made a few perfect pop songs in her time and is just getting started out. I am very excited to talk to you. Welcome to New York.
Thank you so much.
You are doing like your first headline shows at the moment. How is it go? I mean, you've only done one, but how did that go?
It was so fun. It was, my first ever headline show, and I just had so much fun. It was so cool to see people like singing along to the words. They knew all the words.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a couple opening spots, and it's definitely a different experience when it's your own show.
It's weird when it's like your fans singing the words back to you. I feel like I spoke to an artist a couple weeks ago who had just done her first like LA New York show. And she was like, having that connection with the fans in the front row like is a totally different feeling.
It's totally different. It feels like way more of like you're all having fun together as opposed to being like you're on a stage and there's an audience. It feels very combined.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like no division between you and...
Yeah.
So tell me about the EP called Change of Plans. Is there a particular change of plans that happens around this time, or...
I think throughout the EP, lyrically, it takes you through sort of like, you know, a love story and like heartbreak and whatever, and towards the end you're kind of over the situation. But I also I called it that because I think in my life, just as an artist or as a person, I think like I'm trying to embrace uncertainty a little more and be like flexible and not tied to any certain outcome. And I just had that written in my notes, and I thought it was a good title to sum up everything.
I think that uncertainty is like difficult given that you've been like chipping away at your career for so long. Like this has not been an overnight kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is it difficult to like, I guess, separate ambition and spontaneity? Because like, I guess you're used to being in control of your career and you've had a pretty like clear sight of where you want to be. And that spills over into other parts of life, I would think.
It definitely does. I am trying to find the balance between like, I think it's good to set goals and like have, like a checklist of things you want to do. But I think overall, I am leaning into more spontaneity as much as possible and just like, just seeing where it takes me. I think like less planning and more just like going with it and working hard and having fun. Yeah.
That's the perfect balance to achieve.
Yeah.
I am very interested in like how it feels to go from doing covers and like getting quite a following for the covers because your interpretation and your voice is like incredible.
Thank you.
To then trying to channel that into your own music and like finding your own artistic identity.
Yeah.
How did you start, I guess, to figure out what kind of music you wanted to make?
It's been a long journey of finding like what I want to make. I started out working with this one producer and I kind of just was so excited to like be in the studio and writing and recording. And so it just kind of like formed into sort of what the producer was doing. And that was fun and great. And I learned so much. But then like this past year, I think I've just been giving myself room to really explore like what I want to make and sound like. And I've always loved really emotional, organic pop music. And I feel like that's sort of where I'm at right now. It could change. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a long time. Like, it's interesting. I grew up singing and I never, I love singing everything. Like when I do covers, I sing every genre. Yeah, it's so
diverse, your influences. Yeah.
So it's hard because I'm like, I love all different types of music and I love singing all different types of music. But I'm happy where I'm at right now with the music I'm making.
When I was listening to the EP, I was like, there's obviously something really pop there. But I was like, it runs a bit deeper than that. And I feel like there are some like alternative influences that come in. And then yesterday I saw you singing like Adrian Lenker and I was like, there it is. That's like the missing piece that I needed to like fully complete the picture of who you are as an artist. So I like, obviously you've got a deep appreciation for like pop and pop melodies, but there's also something like a little bit more alternative going on as well. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I really love like folk music as well. Yeah. And indie pop. And I'm a fan. I like that middle ground, I think, between pop and like I guess folk, like kind of.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like we're in this time where that is like such a possible thing to explore and not have to be niche at all. Like in the post folklore kind of world. And when we've got artists like Maggie Rogers and like even Adrian and Big Thief as well, like selling out huge venues, it's like, wow, nothing's niche anymore.
Nothing. Anything can be mainstream, I feel like.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That must be like freeing as an artist though, to go into the studio and be like, oh, I don't have to like write a Max Martin pop banger today. I just have to write something that feels true to me.
It's so cool. Like you don't you could leave any session with any type of song and feel like this could do something. I don't know. It's never just like one type of song is gonna get you somewhere. I don't know. It's cool.
Was there a particular song on the EP where you were like, oh, I've really unlocked this sound now that I'm excited about mining deeper into?
I really love something about the production on Horror Movie. I really love like the guitar riff that kind of goes throughout it all.
Yeah.
I don't know, something about that production I really like. And I would say that one felt like it opened a world for me.
Did that come earlier in the process, do you think, or?
That came, I think, like end of last year or something. So it was kind of in the middle of the process.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing another song with that producer that's also on the EP, Swiss Army Knife. And I think those two songs, like production wise, I like the world they sit in.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had the same producer, but I can see the similar worlds for those two now.
Yeah, even though they're very different, there's something about them I think that kind of ties them together.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I'm wondering, like, when you play this record to your friends or your family, are they like, oh, this is Ali, like this makes total sense on record? Like, is there a parallel there?
I haven't asked them, honestly, but
let's get them on the phone.
I know, I gotta call them. But I think there's always like a bit of humor in like some of the lyrics, like even just the concepts are very me. So I think they would probably say that, and also they know that I love like sad lyrics and like heartbreak like kind of thing. So I feel like that is also very me.
Is that like a hard space to have to try and tap into? Like when you love that kind of music and you're like, oh, I have to go to the studio and like find something deep.
Yes. And I've realized recently, like I will sometimes write just about like, if I don't have anything directly going on in my life, I'll get it from either like movies or my friends' situations or whatever, or just something that's not related to my life, and then it will manifest a couple months later. Every time, it's so weird.
You got to be careful then going into the studio.
I have to start writing like really positive songs.
If we're like to skip through your Spotify or Apple, whatever you're using, what do you think people would be surprised to find in there?
That's a good question.
It's a hard question.
I feel like surprised. The first thing that comes to my head is I have this one playlist on Spotify that I think I accidentally made, but there was a time like this year where I was only listening to what's it called? Islands in the Stream by Dolly Parton.
Dolly and Kenny Rogers.
There's just a playlist that's just that song on my Spotify. I feel like that's random.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the first thing that comes to my head.
I feel like Dolly had like quite a presence in the past couple years.
She
like
has.
Even with Sabrina Carpenter and everything, it's very there.
Yeah, I feel like she's being very appreciated by my generation. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like an Ali like country record is on the way.
I don't know country, but I just love the writing of. I've always loved the storytelling of country music.
Yeah.
Like,
where are you writing your music? Is it mostly in LA?
Yeah.
So how long have you been in LA now, away from home?
Like 4 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gone by so fast.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Does it feel like, do you find any inspiration from coming back home to New Jersey? Like, do you write music there, or does it feel like there's very much a separation between like home
There's a separation.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like, yeah, there's a separation. I used to come to New York too and do some sessions like before I moved out.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm sure I could write a song here. I just haven't really like.
Should we try?
Should we right now? Let's
Yeah.
write a song. Yeah.
That's really interesting. I
Yeah.
wonder if it's the climate, maybe.
I think it's also like in my head I've always kind of split the worlds probably in my
Yeah.
head. Like music me and like just me that grew up here. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
That's
interesting.
really interesting.
Yeah.
Is there a song that you're performing live? I mean, in like support slots or in the headline shows at the moment, that you're like, wow, this takes on a whole different life when I sing it live than it did when I was writing it.
That's yes. My song from the EP, Any Way I Can, it I feel like I didn't really know how to properly promote it, I think online and stuff. And so there were a lot of people at the show that were like, that one song, like I haven't even heard it. I really like it. Like a lot of people
Yeah.
came up after and talked about that song and it felt different live. And yeah, there are just some songs that translate live better
Yeah.
than like online on streaming or yeah, it's weird.
It's an energy thing. Like
Yes.
just some songs need like bodies in a room, I feel like.
Yes. Yeah. And like they also need your attention throughout the whole thing. Like
Yeah.
you can't just be like a little clip. Like, yeah.
How do you find, like, obviously you're very good at it because you've built a career for yourself, like singing covers online and connecting with people online.
Yeah.
But how do you feel like translating your own music that you've written in a studio and then being like, how am I now going to like tell an audience about it and make them connect to it in a way that like feels very me? Does that come naturally, do you think, from yeah.
It definitely doesn't. I like the talking points at a show are what I get the most nervous for. Like to introduce the song.
Really?
Yeah, because a lot of the times I don't really even know how to explain a song. I feel like a lot of times
Yeah.
the song just speaks. I just want it to speak for itself.
I mean, if people could be that clear with their emotions, they probably wouldn't be writing songs. They'd just be telling people, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that's the reason we write songs. I don't want to have to explain them.
I find it interesting that they ask a lot of musicians, or like I'll sit down in a chat like this and then ask you, so what's it about? And you're like, well, I started writing songs because that's my easiest method
because I
of
don't know how to
communication.
tell you. Yeah, exactly. But I figured it out, and there's like fun ways to explain it. I feel like I just have a whole notes thing of like talking points. I write it down before.
Every time you think, do you ever listen to one of your songs and you're like, oh my God, I've just figured out something else that it's about?
Oh my God. I feel like yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. Like it uncovers things that you didn't even know were going on subconsciously. You're like, wait.
It's a good like document to be able to go back into and be like, oh, so that's where I was at that time.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Definitely a time capsule. Like will take you back to that moment. Yeah.
How have things changed? Like since you wrote the EP, do you feel like you're writing different music? Are you not writing music at the moment? Like what's your headspace in terms of creativity?
I am always writing, and I think because I've done a couple shows this year, I opened for this artist in the beginning of the year. It just made me realize like live, you know, how it will perform live and taking that into account. And also just like, I think I tend to intellectualize my feelings in my songs or like overly explain myself. And recently I've been realizing like, sometimes you just want to just say it, like not be clever, not be like too over explain, like just say how you feel, like like words that you would want to scream in a venue kind of thing. That's what I've been thinking recently. Yeah.
But it's like scary to get to that point because sometimes it's easier to just wrap things in metaphors because you're like this like can be interpreted in any way.
Yeah. And metaphors are great, but
yeah,
I am also learning how to just like, just say your feelings.
That's
like say
cool.
what you would want to say to that person.
Is there an artist who you like watch and you've watched their career develop that you really kind of idolize, not so much in like you love the music way, but you love watching them navigate like this industry?
I really like the first person that came to my head was Lizzie McAlpine. She's really cool because, I mean, obviously she's incredibly talented, but she's also doing like Broadway now, which is so cool. Like she grew up doing musical theater, and I feel like she's also an album girl. Like she's not gonna just drop singles or whatever. Like she can put out a full body of work and then tour it. And I don't know, I just admire her trajectory, I think.
She's also gotten so popular without like compromising at all. Like she's never written like a hit for the radio kind of thing. You know, everything is just so uniquely her sound.
Yeah.
I always ask everybody this question to end and like take as much time as you need. But what comes to mind when I say to you the perfect 10 out of 10 pop song? Like what is the first thing that jumps into your head?
Somebody That I Used to Know.
I haven't had that one, but it's a really good answer.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a really good pop song. I don't even know if it was a pop song because it was super popular, but I don't even know the genre.
Traditionally, like
it's not necessarily
you wouldn't consider it a pop song.
Yeah.
But
I just think that's always my answer when someone asks like what song I wish I wrote. I just really...
That's a cool answer.
Yeah.
My flex is I was there. I'm Australian, and I was there the first time he ever performed it live. It wasn't even out yet.
Whoa.
And like Kimbra like came onto stage like, and everybody was just like, what is this song? This is amazing.
Yeah.
There was a feeling, and then it just spread. Like such a niche artist in Australia, and then suddenly it was like number one forever here.
And I feel like that was a time where like songs were very much pop songs in order to be hits.
Exactly. It's so weird.
Yeah. But that one just clicked with everyone. Yeah.
I remember them like mixing it with like Avicii's Levels and stuff just to give it a bit of a punch, a moment. Thank you so much for sitting down and talking to me. Change of Plans, the EP is out now. By the time people watch this, your shows will be done, but you are playing headline shows.
Yes.
It was really nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It used to be easy without a deeper